officially recognized by a foreign government. Jones sailed Ranger into British home waters, engaging the Royal Navy and capturing merchant ships. His raid on Whitehaven was the first invasion of sovereign British territory since the 17th century. His and other American commanders' actions forced the British to keep a fleet in its home waters, away from American shores. When presented with the opportunity to command a new ship, Jones said,
"I wish to have no connection with any ship that does not sail fast, for I intend to go in harm's way."
In 1779, he outfitted an old merchant ship provided by the King of France and renamed it Bonhomme Richard, in tribute to his patron, Benjamin Franklin. On 23 September of that year, he engaged the British ship Serapis in the North Sea. Jones' ship was badly damaged early in the fight, and the British commander called out to Jones to surrender. Historians differ on his actual reply, but there was no mistaking his intent.
"I have not yet begun to fight."
With Bonhomme Richard sinking beneath him, Jones and his men fought their way aboard Serapis and carried the day. John Paul Jones was relentless in battle. Throughout the war, engaging superior British forces and merchant fleets, his fierce determination and warrior spirit always triumphed. With the end of the war, the Continental Navy was disbanded, but Jones' life centered around the sea. On his frequent visits to Europe, Jones was knighted by the French and made an admiral by the Russians. As a rear admiral in Empress Catherine's navy, Jones brilliantly engaged the Turks in the Black Sea, but suffered from the envy and jealousy of courtiers back in St. Petersburg. Disillusioned and in declining health, John Paul Jones returned to Paris. He died in 1792 while awaiting another assignment from President Washington. An admiring Frenchman paid to have Jones' body embalmed and placed in a lead coffin in case his country wanted to retrieve his remains for proper burial in the United States. More than a century later, American diplomat General Horace Porter, encouraged by President Theodore Roosevelt, conducted painstaking research in Paris and finally located Jones' grave in an abandoned cemetery. Roosevelt, who was determined to build the U.S. Navy into the world's preeminent naval force, saw in Jones the courage he believed all naval officers should possess. He was determined that Jones' memory would not only receive the proper honor it deserved, but also serve as an inspiration for future generations of sailors. President Roosevelt sent a naval squadron to France in 1905 to bring the body of John Paul Jones home. With great fanfare, the squadron returned the body to John Paul Jones' adopted country. Ensuring that the Navy understood Jones' heroic example and that America would never forget, Roosevelt staged an elaborate funeral in Dahlgren Hall, at which he formally accepted the remains and explained that they would remain at the Naval Academy as inspiration for future midshipmen. The ceremony was attended by the nation's most prominent political and military leaders. When a special crypt in the chapel was finally completed in 1913, the body of America's fierce naval warrior was placed in its final resting place. Why is John Paul Jones honored here? What trait resonated within his countrymen more than a century after his death to produce this tribute? Naval historian Admiral Sam Morrison has described Jones' great zeal to improve himself. Consider his humble origins, the position in history he achieved, his example provides a lofty standard for all those who follow. His contribution can be summed up in 7 simple words, words that define courage, determination, and commitment to the mission. Whether actually uttered in the heat of battle, an American president knew these 7 words would continue to inspire succeeding generations of sailors and Marines. I have not yet begun to fight.